you are gonna release a new album and already published two singles, Sugar and Mr. Tap and Go.
Uh-huh.
How has been the public relations so far with those two singles that you released?
I'm not sure actually, I mean, I I get, you just don't know what to believe after a while.
Mhm. So,
I mean, I think they're good, so hopefully other people do. And you know, like I said, you don't know whether people are blowing smoke up your ass or not.
yeah, actually, I think that this album it's maybe not so heavy riff and stoner rock oriented, and it's like more complex. There's a lot of layers of sounds, guitars. Did you were planning change the style a little bit, or it just came that way? I mean, can you explain me a little bit?
Well, it's a combination of both. Um, I think, you know, towards the end of making the record, when we were touring last year, and we did the two of the Desert Fest in London and Berlin, I realized there are a lot of bands now doing riff rock.
Mhm.
And I have a tendency to not do what everybody else is doing. And even though I can do riff rock as good as anybody else, um, God forgive my immodesty, but
That's okay.
you know, it's just, I think it was a kind of a mentality that created Led Zeppelin 3, perhaps, where they came out with a record that was largely acoustic. And so to me, um, the softer, I guess, the approach, maybe it's it's harder emotionally and softer riff wise. And I wanted to do more of an emotional record.
Mhm. And
Um, yeah, I guess that's it.
yeah, and you're talking about emotions, and I was gonna ask you about the way you write the songs and also the lyrics, because I was wanting to know if the lyrics are usually based on your experiences or people you know, or it's imaginations. Can you tell me a little bit of the whole process?
Well, yeah, of course they are. I think I spent more time on the lyrics on this record than any other record, but to be honest, some songs are written in 30 minutes and some lyrics take 30 years. And it's a combination of both. You know, it's just it just happens. And I have no, there's no plan. It just happens the way it is. And there was a long period, obviously, between the two albums, and so there was a lot of time involved. And I think this record kind of encapsulates what happened in that period of time. A lot of it is nothingness, which is in itself something, and a lot of it is just watching the world. I guess when Lennon said he was watching the wheels, in his case, it was 5 years instead of 10. But a lot happened in the world in the last 12 years, 15 years. A lot of the psychological living and situation of the world came under drastic changes. And to me, that was more fascinating than my own obsessions. And maybe fascinating isn't the world. Maybe harrowing and terrifying is more the world word. And so, yeah, I don't know how I ended up right. You can hear one of my cats crying in the background. Um, yeah, that's it, I suppose. If that answers your question.
Yeah, for sure. And you're talking the world, and I'm thinking that right now the world is pretty crazy, especially in politics and wars and everything. But I feel that I asked the same question to someone in an interview. I don't remember who, but I feel that today's lyrics in majority of bands are not so political as they used to be like 30, 40 years ago. And but now the political situation is everyone is talking on internet, in social media, but not that much in the music. Like it, I remember like in the 60s, 70s, there was a lot of politics in the lyrics. Do you Can you tell me what you feel about that? And if you like to talk about politics or in your lyrics or
Well, I don't think there is any politics in the lyrics on this record. Um, what it is the results of that, of the situation, and not the situation itself. It's what happens to us internally because of the mess. Everyone knows the mess. I didn't need to expound on the whys and hows of it. It's just the results of the internal devastation of it. And that's what interests me more is our souls.
Mhm. Actually, when I did some interviews 2 or 3 years before, and just after the pandemic and the lockdown, and many artists, I think they had like a big impact in their music they released after being like all the COVID situation. Did that also had an influence in writing this album?
Well, I'm sure that's in there, that 3 years of ridiculous terror that they imposed on the world um, is in there. And I suppose you have to find it yourself and within the lyrics. But I don't want to expound exactly, what and how and where it is. I think it's we did a tour in 1998, I believe. It was maybe 99. It was called the Real War Tour. And we opened with a tape in 4 or 5 different languages of a dissertation called "This Is the Real War," and it ends up being a uh, a statement of "This is the war of our souls and our spirit," and I think that's what's under attack, and on a mass scale. So, take that as you will and apply it to this record, and or to any art, as a matter of fact, anyone's art. Uh, I don't know. I mean, for me at my age to be riffing about smoking a bong is ridiculous. I mean, I've lived with that for over 50 years, so that subject is boring to me. Um, but it's the emotional and psychological state of the world that interests me, and the problems therein. Yeah, I guess it's the problems and possibly the salvation therein, the the courage to face it.
Mhm. And about the process of composition, how do you write the music and your songs, and how important are the musicians like Alan, John, and Paul that recorded the album with you? Like, because I feel there's a lot of nice arrangements and guitar arrangements all over the album. So I would like to know how is the process since the first idea of the song till the end of result.
Well, I couldn't have done it without John and Paul and Ellen. Um, they were very patient beyond words, and and very generous with their time and talent. So my the arrange I'm my probably my biggest strength as a musician, you know, is my arrangement abilities, and song arranging is very important to me. I don't know if it comes through or not. Time will tell. But yeah, I mean, these songs took so long, and the album, was such a long period of time that it's hard for me to, pinpoint exactly the mechanism of it. It happened over such a long period that I had a lot of time to piece it together, and so I'm lucky I had people with me to go along with that. I mean, yeah. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, everything is fine. And I think yeah, it's been I think I don't know 16 years or like from the other album, your last album, and but I guess because you produce a lot of other bands like great bands like Queens of Stone Age, Q's, and a lot of bands. I want to know apart from writing this album, what have you been doing all these years? Because I guess you will be working in other things as well.
No, I've been watching, you know. I guess unfortunately, the work I've been doing isn't so evident to the world. It's been brain work and just watching and absorbing what's happened, and and the profound effects of it all on everybody, and where everyone's at. You know, whether I like the results or not doesn't matter. But it it's it's work behind the scenes, I suppose. Um, it was way too long, and I do regret that long period of time. Between the ages, from being 50 years old now into my 60s, a very valuable period of time, and I can't I can't look back and regret. I have to look back and accept it, that that's what it took. And because during that period of time, I didn't feel motivated to make music because I didn't know what I was making. Art is a response to the world, and you can't just, well, I can't just throw a response out without knowing what the fuck I'm talking about. And so I don't even know what the original question was, but yeah, it's been a while, and and this is the result of that while.
Mhm.
And so I just have to accept it because I can't go back and change it.
And because it's been that while. that long period. I think the music industry has changed a lot, and also the social media has changed things because now people don't have patience to even bothering listening a 5 minute song. They just scroll down the videos. So
There you go.
do you think
Yeah.
right now it's gonna be much more difficult to make this album get to the people, get gigs, good gigs, and you think it's more difficult now than before?
Yeah, it's a terrible time to be a musician. Um, because there's so much shit, a tsunami of shit that's being thrown at everybody from every angle, especially online. I mean, I know I can't keep up with it. Um, I see, the list of the new bands on Apple Music, for example, and there's 1,000 of them. Now, am I supposed to go through that horrible list of music and choose something out of it? No, I don't have the time or the patience anymore. I've always felt that music that was meant to get to me will get to me. And it's a nice surprise when it does, whether it's by accident or from a friend, or if I hear something that, people I admire, like, I will check it out. Um, but yeah, it's financially, aesthetically, it's a mess. Um, I don't like much of anything that I hear. I think the thing that impressed me the most in the last few years is Kendrick Lamar. Um, just the freedom of the music that he moves in. And I'm not a big rap fan or hip hop fan, but it's just the musicality of it is, I guess it's fascinating to me. And, the ability for different key changes and parts to happen without any rhyme or reason. I like that. And it's for the rest of us, the ones who play music that isn't really studio made, it's made to be performed live. That's where the problem is right now. Touring is so expensive, and for bands who don't have giant budgets to tour with, we're fucked. So, what I bring home at the end of a tour, you don't even want to know. So, and that's probably like that for most bands. And, and I'm too old to be sleeping in a shit motel room shared with, another person, and sleeping in the back of a van or a bus. So, along with age comes comfort, and the demand for comfort. So, in my case, anyway. So, no, it's not a good time, and there's just too much, and record labels don't exist anymore. You know, um, the when there was a time when a new band would come along and a record label would give them a decent budget to spend some time making a record. And now that doesn't exist. And maybe that's one of the reasons why there's so much crap being thrown upon us at the moment and in the last X amount of years. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I also about what you're saying. I think right now with social media, there's a lot of offer. Like there's million artists and songs thrown up to the internet. But on the other hand, I can feel that like the bands like Masters of Reality and many other great bands that have been there for many years. It's I feel that another different process, which is like many fans go to see like the all big rock bands, and they just want to listen their old music, their old stuff, and they don't care if they released a new album. So in one way, we have like all the young people shooting millions of songs on the internet, and on the other hand, for you, probably is more difficult to make your public listen to your new record because they probably want to listen to your old songs. Do you feel that in the concerts or?
Well, we'll find that out, you know. I mean, the last tour we did was fantastic, and it was well attended, and we did very well. So one part of me was very joyous and optimistic, and then, you know, in our own case, in Europe especially, and then at the bigger picture, I feel bad for everyone who's trying to do this. I don't feel as though, you know, we have to play our greatest hits because there aren't any to begin with. So I think people are in our case, we're lucky because I think they're curious to hear the new music. I think we've attracted a following that is curious to see where we're going. And so, yeah, I, in that sense, I feel blessed in our own situation, even though the problems that I stated before about, you know, touring and releasing music in this atmosphere. It's so yeah. I'm thankful in a way for my own situation, and then, you know, it's duality, right? It's always duality. You know, it's joy paired with sadness. You know, I guess I'm a Buddhist at heart. You know.
That's that's good. Going back to the music in the album, uh, there's like probably a lot of styles going around at the same time in the album. I also read that you said that this album for you was like more like your way of approaching blues music or something like that. But I also there was like a song like Chicken Little that in some part of the song it reminded me like of like symphonic rock, like Pink Floyd or something like that. So I wanted to ask you, what are your main music influences, artists, styles that move you or that have been important for you? And
Well, that's a long list. Um, really is. I mean, there are the main ones, you know. I mean, it's obviously Jimmy Page and David Bowie. You know, people who, you know, have been cited and awarded many times on a huge scale. But my interest in those artists and some other ones along the line go deeper. It's beyond the surface of what they did. It's the same thing that motivates the music that I just did. It's like what was going on internally, how deep they went personally in themselves, and what created that ability to go where they went. And it wasn't just a topical decision, I believe, on their part. And I, you know, especially Bowie, because no one had a career, if you want to call it a career, or an artist that, a music artist that was akin to a painter, that you can see all these steps along the way of the change they made and their ability to keep their old material intact, and but then go to new areas and mix the two along the way, and how deep they went. I mean, there's layers and layers and layers of Bowie. And that fascinates me. The fact that I can listen to something he did 50 years ago and find something in it that I never found before.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, these are obvious choices. There are other not so obvious ones. The musicality of the prog music I listen to, especially the writing of, John Anderson and Yes,
Mhm.
his melodic abilities, the arrangement abilities of the long Yes pieces in the 1970s. That fascinates me. The Mahavishnu Orchestra, just for a short period in the beginning of the 70s, that fascinates me as well. Um, so yeah, there's just so much along the way. I mean, even with Kraftwerk, I still, when a Kraftwerk song stumbles along my way, I immediately magnetize to it, and and regain that same feeling that I did when I first heard it. Whether it be Trans Europe Express or Computer World, it's timeless. And the music I like, I suppose, is timeless and not just some trendy shit of the year. And I won't throw any names out there, but I'm sure they know who they are. Maybe, probably not, but yeah, it's that ability, to make music that's art.
Mhm. Yeah, you mentioned big names like Bowie and Mahavishnu. That was a band that I mean created a whole new sound, no, with the jazz rock and all this odd time meter stuff. And I was thinking that another big band that changed a lot of things was Cream, and you were a few years playing with Ginger Baker. So I'd like to know how was it, because it must be like really amazing to play with one of the greatest musicians of one of the greatest bands that changed so many things.
Yeah, I learned so much from Ginger, and that's why I decided to form the band with him at that time. This man was one of the architects of what we do, and he understood it well. And you know, you hear, like I said, the topical things that bands do, like Cream, for example. Now, you hear what Cream was doing in 1967, 68, and, you know, jamming on blues structures, basically. But what predecessed that in their minds? What created that? And in Ginger's case, it was jazz. And so that's what intrigues me, is finding out what's below the surface and finding out um, who his heroes were, who his musical heroes were, and who his drum heroes were, and going back and listening and putting the whole picture together. So that's the thing that takes time, and that I think is lacking now, or as people, their ability to go back and hear what their heroes liked, and not just take it at face value. I've always been curious to what inspired what my musical idols, how they came about. What were their childhoods like? What musical influence did they have, and how that transformed into who they became. Um, it's a process. It's a very long process, and hence, I guess, the time of it took to make this record. It's a process. It's hard to explain, but um, you know, to I guess to my detriment, in my lifestyle. I haven't. Okay, it's been 2 years. Time to put another record out and go on tour again. We've never been that kind of band. Sometimes I wish we had been. And then if you go below the surface, my wife and I never had children. So I think back and say, okay, if I had had children, would that have motivated me to be more aggressive and bring more money home to them instead of sitting around, pondering things? So, yeah, there you go. What's below the surface of everything? That's it for me.
It's very interesting how you're talking about all this, because by one side you wonder some of your idols, what's their background and everything. But I would like to know what's the other point of view about yourself when some people credit you as the godfather of desert rock, and you probably have many people that's been influenced by you, and they probably are very interested in your life and what you did before. How does it make you feel when they credit you as, like, that the godfather of desert rock and things like that?
I don't know. I suppose it's a world of pigeonholing now. you know, um, Putting people into categories. I don't even know what the fuck desert rock means. I suppose I do. I mean, if you want to use Caius and as an example, and it kind of more of a free form style of heavy music, not single oriented, but more live oriented, I suppose. If that's what desert rock means, is being able to present what you do in a live setting and still retain its power. And as far as that label goes, Godfather of this or that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, whatever. I mean, I never think about it. I really don't. I mean, Mario Lawley is probably the man who inspired those kids more than I did. Um, you know, and he's the father of it, I suppose. But Godfather, I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. No.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that today everyone wants to label things and styles and give names, which is cool. But anyway, because we don't have much minutes left, I just wanted to do like one question that for me, I wanted to know. When you started your career, you were playing a lot in the CBGB and in the punk music scenes. And I would like to know if you can tell me a little bit how was that period of your life and how was it? Because I mean, we tend to idolize things and try to imagine how might have been being in Woodstock or playing with the Ramones and things like that. So because you lived that punk area in the CBGBs, if you can share us, how was it a little bit?
I'm very lucky. Um, it, New York City in the 1970s was electric with music. Um, the music in the air, the vibe in the air, to this day, I can't forget it. Downtown was live music and punk music and what have you. And uptown was disco and funk. And I loved them both. So, being able to walk 15 or 20 blocks and go into a completely different scene and absorbing all that music was just such a thrill. And the acceptance of different kinds of music in the 70s by everybody is still unmatched to this day, I think. I think now it's, a choice between hip hop, metal, and whatever this college pap junk is that you hear, on the late night shows. Some, some quirky idiots. Um, so I mean, the choices have become slimmer. Where, at the time in the '70s, mid '70s in New York City, it was an explosion of creativity and was available to everyone. It was there if you were lucky enough to be turned on to CBGBs and Maxes in 1976 and 1977, like I was. I played CBGBs in 1978, and to see what was going on and feel that excitement of, that this great change was happening. And I kind of left my classic rock behind for a minute and had to go and get into the ring there. But also at the same time, loving the disco scene uptown. Giorgio Moroder's work with Donna Summer, Kraftwerk, the what we called Euro disco at the time, the electronic based disco. It blew my mind, and the funk and at the time that ran into the '80s as well. That resulted in Madonna, but before that, the construction of dance music and the beats that were involved and how the kick drum changed and how the bass sound changed. And then the 808 coming along, and to me, the 808 kick drum destroying the role of the bass guitar in music, because it blotted out the bass and became the bass itself. And where all that stuff leads us to now, and what the salvation from that result might be. That's the junk I think about, probably to my detriment. Like I said, I think too much.
The conversation is the connection is gonna cut. So I want to thank you before it cuts. Thanks so much for the interview. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and congratulations for your new album. I really like it. So hope to see you playing here in Madrid someday.
Me too. We have not played Spain enough. I know you got to go, and God bless, and hope to meet you along the line.